America's best days are yet to come. That's because conservatives like you know and live the values our great country was built on. The Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard in the D.C. swamp each day, shining the light on a bright future. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mike Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. The Insurrection Act has been used at least 20 times in American history, starting in 1808 by Thomas Jefferson, as we discussed the other evening. It was passed in 1807 because there are insurrections that occur in various parts of the country from time to time. Jefferson used it. Lincoln used it. Ulysses S. Grant used it. More modern times, Eisenhower used it. John Kennedy used it. Lyndon Johnson used it. George H.W. Bush used it. Reagan used it. And Donald Trump's going to have to use it too. Donald Trump's going to have to use it for a very simple reason. You have Democrats, as in other times during our history, who refuse to follow the law. Whether it's a Supreme Court decision, Brown versus Board of Education, whether it's post-Civil War and the Klan, that's right. Whether it's segregation. Right now, we have a Democrat Party that is usurping the Constitution, the authority of the presidency. You have a Democrat Party that refuses to comply with our federal immigration laws and did, in fact, open our borders unconstitutionally and illegally, and refuses now to support the deportation of the people they let in, starting with the criminals. Governors are not in charge of immigration. Cities are not in charge of immigration. And they certainly don't have the power to prevent ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to do their job. This is a cancer that, if it's allowed to spread, will destroy our constitutional construct. If a governor decided today that they were not going to adhere to our civil rights laws, if a governor decided today, presumably another Democrat, that black people couldn't vote, and if the governor used local and state police powers to prevent it, we would all agree, would we not, that the president should prevent that governor from conducting himself or herself the way that they are, even if it means employing the Insurrection Act. So here we have a situation where we have international foreign criminal gangs. We have individuals who have killed people, who have raped people, drug smugglers that were let into our country lawlessly, unconstitutionally by the prior regime. And we have a president who's trying to uphold the Constitution, who's being accused of trying to militarize our cities by demagogic, highly political governors who want to be president. The Insurrection Act is to prevent insurrections. That's an insurrection. Governors are not free, neither are cities, of course, to nullify federal immigration law. In fact, the federal government's not free to nullify federal immigration law the way Biden did. This is precisely what's taking place. As I've told you now, I'm seeing columnists write about what I've been saying for months. Columnists. Low-rent writers who provide no attribution because they weren't taught ethics. Basic, common ethics. This must be 1859, they say, Mr. Producer. Maybe it's like 1861. Maybe we're talking about neo-Confederates and so forth and so on. I've talked about this till I'm blue in the face. Here, the Blaze and Fox. So these are not new thoughts. They are my thoughts. People always ask me, what can I do to become a better writer, a more popular writer? Use your own head and stop stealing from other people. That would be a good start. You'll notice all my books have extensive endnotes. There's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. But I digress. I'm just trying to clean up the forum, trying to clean up our movement a little bit here. But that's exactly what's taking place. And we'll stay on top of it. And there is so much to get to. James Comey was arraigned today. And, of course, the Democrats are out there telling us this is retribution. This isn't retribution. This man did so many unethical things in such horrendous ways. We've never seen an abuse of power like we've seen from James Comey. I was invited on America Reports. It's a wonderful show. And I was on around 2 o'clock. And here's what I said to John Roberts and Sandra Smith. Great show. Cut one, go.
So Pam Bondi made the case yesterday that the grand jury that handed up the indictment against Comey is a fairly liberal grand jury. But it is one thing to get a grand jury to indict. We all remember the ham sandwich idiom. It's quite another thing to prove to a jury in a court of law that Comey willfully and knowingly lied to Congress. Is there, in your mind, the evidence to prove that?
Well, here's the problem, John. By the way, thank you. And Sandra, you have a great show. I really enjoy it.
Thank you.
The fact of the matter is Comey is a serial liar. The fact of the matter is Comey is a serial leaker. The fact of the matter is he absconded with government documents. He gave one to a law professor at Columbia University to leak to the New York Times. The fact is that he interfered with the election in 2016, the president's transition, and his presidency. So the fact is he's a scoundrel. The fact is he did more to interfere with any election than Russia and China combined. The fact is, I say this as a former Justice Department chief of staff who had wonderful FBI directors, he brought great disrepute to the department and the FBI, and we never want to see the likes of him again. Now, we have a Biden judge, so that's one strike against us. Whether or not they are able to prove this specific case, I don't know. That's what the whole trial process is for, and we'll find out. I'm not big on sitting back and saying, well, you know, was it before the fact or after the fact that this man authorized it? The truth is he's where he belongs. And the truth is he's very, very lucky that these other instances of where, in my view, he violated his oath, or he at least was unethical and immoral, haven't been brought in some form of a codified charge because it may not exist. But the fact is that he is a scoundrel. He is a saboteur. He's all the things that people say he is based on his record, based on what he did. And they're trying to act like he's some kind of great Martin Luther King or something like that. I'm innocent. I'm standing up. I want my day in court. Okay, you got your day in court. So congratulations. I'm quite familiar with his defense lawyer, Fitzpatrick, who was the U.S. Attorney in Chicago when he was the U.S. Attorney in New York. They're both of a similar stripe in a similar way. They're very, very aggressive prosecutors. You might recall that Comey went after Martha Stewart on false statements. She served 5 months in prison. A lot of people think he did that because she was really the first billionaire woman, and he wanted to pad his resume and so forth because he always wanted to be FBI director. So there's a lot of stuff that's been going on with him, with some of these other federal prosecutors that have finally been exposed. Now, as for these Democrats wringing their hands about authoritarianism and dictatorships, after we now know what happened to 8 Republican senators and 3 House members under Smith, who they haven't even criticized yet, that Merrick Garland ran the most corrupt Department of Justice ever, and that guy's never called to account. You never even hear his name. Deputy Attorney General, these 2 people were in charge of it. The idea that they're interfering with elections, the idea that they tried to take down Trump. Comey was involved in the Obama plan back in 2016 with the false CIA report and all the rest of it. These people are like the mob. And so when I have to hear them go on about, but will the jury convict and what are we going to do? And it's the honor of my life to represent this guy. I would say to his lawyer, well, then you need to get a little bit more of a life, because if it's the honor of your life to represent this reprobate, that's pretty unbelievable. Meanwhile, he's on TV all the time. This guy Comey's on TV all the time, commenting on everybody else's justice, commenting. And so I think this, I don't know what's going to happen. Even the people who come on and say they know what's going to happen, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. I'm just glad it's happening.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad he's there. I'm live now. I'm glad he's where he belongs. Cut 2, go.
Lindsey Graham agrees. He teed off on this last night. Mark, listen here.
If they did this without good reason and without cause, I'm going to sue the crap out of these people. We've got new people in town to clean this mess up. And my goal is not to do this to Democrats, to make sure it's never done to anybody in the future. And those of us that were wronged, if we were wrong, pay a price. Pay a price. This needs to come to end, and the only way it will come to end is for people to pay a price.
So I'm wondering if anybody will pay a price, Mark.
Here's what I want to know. You know, this guy's a rogue prosecutor, he's special counsel. He did a lot of things outside the box. We talked about it here many times over the years. Who knew about this?
Yeah.
You don't monitor phone calls by United States senators without some kind of approval by the Attorney General or the Deputy Attorney General, some kind of knowledge by White House counsel. This is a much, much bigger scandal, and it is a big damn scandal, than what we're looking at right now. Again, my experience at the Department of Justice as Chief of Staff to an Attorney General, no prosecutor is going to start monitoring United States senators without the Attorney General knowing about it, without somebody in a higher position knowing about it, without the FBI Director knowing about it. So this is another one of those scandals in the Biden regime that I think either goes to the top or close to the top.
Yep, I'm back live. It is a big deal. And on Saturday's Life, Liberty, and Levin, we're going to have Senator Ron Johnson, one of the best. He was one of the ones they were monitoring because he has been a burr on their saddle for years as he's pursued the corruption of the Biden regime. And I'm sure he's got a lot to say about it. So we'll want to hear from him, among others. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. I see one of the attacks, of course, is that the president's acting U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, who's overseeing the case against Comey, has no prosecutorial experience. This is so precious coming from the Democrats and their media. Aren't you glad I'm here, America? There was an attorney general appointed in 1961. He was the brother of the president, Robert Kennedy. John Kennedy appointed him at his father's behest. Said, you need somebody loyal to be running that department. His father was obviously right. All kinds of calls of nepotism. Because 35-year-old Robert Kennedy, to be attorney general, had absolutely no state or federal courtroom experience, let alone prosecutorial experience. No courtroom experience. See, for the Democrat Party, there really are no standards. It's whatever works. The means justify the ends. So this young lady, Halligan, is being smeared because she's never prosecuted a case by the same party that supported the appointment of John Kennedy's brother, Robert Kennedy, as Attorney General at the age of 35, who had no state or federal courtroom experience, but would oversee 93 U.S. attorneys. Now that I've mentioned it, I expect the puppeteers in the background, the puppets in the background, to regurgitate this, but it's an important point, and I will post it. I will post it. I don't know how that case is going to turn out. I'm just glad Comey's in court because of what he did to this country. What he did to this country, even the Chinese and the Russians couldn't pull off. His interference in our election on behalf of Hillary Clinton, and then to take out Trump, and then to destroy his transition, and then to destroy his presidency. And he set up General Flynn. Done a lot of bad things, has Comey. A lot. And we don't want his likes anywhere close to the FBI or the DOJ. But here's the problem. At some point, the Democrats are going to get power back, Mr. Producer. A friend of mine, Doug Urbanski, reminds me that when they do, they don't plan on giving any of it back. And they're going to be more aggressive than they already have been. I'm not trying to scare you or upset you. Just trying to prepare you. We'll be right back. We're coming upon the 250th birthday of the United States, and it has me thinking, what will America look like 250 years from now? My friends at the Heritage Foundation want to know what you think. What policies should America prioritize? What principles should carry us into the decades ahead? As America enters a new golden age, Heritage recognizes that this is the time to take stock and to be intentional about how we shape the future of America. And they can't do it without your input. So please go to heritage.org/LEVIN and let them know what you think is important. Without patriots like you stepping up and speaking up for what you believe in, America as we know it can't survive for another 250 years. Please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin. Take the survey on America's future. This survey takes less than 10 minutes to complete, but it is critical for making sure that the America we pass on to future generations is an America we're proud of. Go to heritage.org/Levin today. That's heritage.org/Levin. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Yes, it's true that Mark Levin is the fastest growing radio show in America. The Mark Levin Show is on at 877-381-3811.
To all the naysayers and detractors, all three of them, our ratings are killing it. I mean, I'm looking at all these numbers. And, of course, where we are actually live, our ratings are really, really solid, beating all comers. Despite the fact that this is the guts of the baseball playoff season, Mr. Producer, and all other activities going on there. So I want to thank all of you folks. You know, some people are out there, AM radio is dead. Well, not this show. As for our podcast, as you know, the podcast is a reconfiguration, if you will, of our radio program. It's sort of tightened up with different advertisers and so forth. And it is huge. It's not new content, it's radio content for people, you know, who are more likely to be listening to on their iPhones or Androids or something like that. And our YouTube channel, I think our listeners, Mr. Producer, on the YouTube channel are the largest in the Westwood One body of broadcasters. Again, it's the radio program. Now, I could be in the top 5 podcasters in the country if I left radio. That's their trick. Most of them are just podcasters. If I were just a podcaster, that's what happened. Or, I think the model that Rush had was no podcasting, only radio. We could do that too, and the numbers would be even bigger on radio. But that's not what I'm trying to do. I want this program, because of what we say and what we do, to be on every imaginable platform. And we are. On all the podcast platforms, the live streaming, both through Westwood One and our local stations, YouTube, Sirius XM satellite, AM radio, FM radio. We're ubiquitous. And we're not afraid of it. But we're also underestimated, which I love. You got these podcasters, right? Their numbers, some of which are very fictional. Or you'll get people on other platforms, I suppose, and they say, look at this. They're in the top 5, they're the top 1. We are everywhere. Like, Catarleson couldn't survive on radio. He's not on radio. Kelly's not on radio. Not just her. Bannon. Bannon is small no matter how you measure it, so to speak, but nonetheless, just a podcaster. So I've actually flirted, although I signed an extended radio contract, if I'd just been a podcaster. How interesting that would be, Mr. Producer, right? But I like the way we do things better. I really do. Which is to make it as convenient to you as possible. If you still like to listen to radio, here we are. If you like the podcast, there we are. If you like to use YouTube, there we are. Sirius XM satellite, which I personally love, there we are. Live streaming from your local station or Westwood One, the mothership, there we are. That's the point. We make ourselves accessible and ubiquitous. So the size of this audience is truly massive and truly unknown. That's why when you have a trade magazine that puts out phony numbers like Talk Magazine, where I was number 2, then I'm number 3, then I'm number 12. That's all, in my view, baloney. Even they admit it's baloney, that it's not based on the data, because they don't have the data. It's their impressions. And since I can't stand them and they can't stand me, I'll probably wind up number 117, Mr. Producer. Even though this is a massive syndicated program. I'm just telling you how sleazy this can be and how this works. But all I know is we've got you, the audience, and that's what matters. Any way you want to listen, you can find us, and that's what you do. Now, I can't wait to see this great peace deal that's being negotiated with all the Arab countries. All the Muslim countries are involved, so that's great. Turkey's involved. Oh, yeah, they're just fantastic. Apparently, the only one left out is Iran. I don't know why they're left out since Qatar's in there. But nonetheless, there they are. And constant, immense pressure on the one democracy, Israel, to keep giving up. And we're literally negotiating now on day, I don't even know what it is, through intermediaries, apparently, with Hamas. One of the most horrendous terrorist organizations in human history. So we've gone from do not negotiate with terrorists to we are negotiating with terrorists through intermediaries for a peace deal. I can't wait to see what this deal looks like. I'm sitting on the edge of my chair. Obviously, the president's very excited about it. He's ready to go to Egypt either Saturday or Sunday with a few details that have to be worked out, according to the Secretary of State, apparently. I don't know what those few details are. The details always matter. But the fundamental aspects of the 20 points seem pretty good. That Hamas would have to surrender and disarm. So a key point to me is going to be, are they surrendering and are they disarming? Obviously, the release of the hostages. And obviously, the demilitarization of Gaza. And neither Hamas nor the Palestinian Authority are to run any government in Gaza. And Israel will not be required to negotiate any aspect of its security away. So I'm very excited about looking at this deal. Can't wait. Because I notice what the media tend to do is they're excited about a deal. I saw one of these reporters in Israel say something like, we're not far from a deal. Okay, what's the deal? So far, we have a ceasefire without the release of the hostages. I thought this deal was a take it or leave it deal, Mr. Producer. Didn't you originally? And they had 2, 3, 4 days to take it or obliteration. But it's not. Still negotiating. Very curious about this. I can't wait to see the end result. I really can't. I want to see if our ally Israel is in a better position or a worse position with this deal. We got to get this over with. What do we mean we've got to get this over with? The Israelis are fighting and dying. We are not. The Arabs are not. The Arab Muslims are not. Qatar, one of the lead mediators, funded Hamas as they supported 9/11. Saudi Arabia, Al-Qaeda, the attack on 9/11. So here we have it. But everybody agrees on something, apparently. I can't wait to see what it is. Can't wait to see what it is. Everybody's ready to go to Egypt. Sign the deal. Sign the deal before the deal is done. Let's see what the deal is. And if there are any obligations that we have as a country, that has to go to the United States Senate, whether the administration likes it or not. It's just like this executive order with Qatar. That's going to have to go to the United States Senate, too. You can't obligate the United States military, including our infantry, including our nuclear weapons and all the rest, to the defense of a country. That is a treaty. You can't do it on your own. You just can't. So I'm going to be very, very interested in seeing this, and I will certainly convey my points to you. Now, if it's done on Sunday, obviously we're going to have to wait till Monday to discuss it at some length, but already Hamas is in a position where it's negotiating, Mr. Producer. Does that bother people? They're holding hostages. They targeted and slaughtered civilians. They didn't try to avoid them. They targeted them in the worst, most horrendous way that 7th century primitive barbarians do. Subhuman monsters. And Hamas's foot soldiers in America keep talking about overthrowing the United States, overthrowing the empire. We, the people of America. Listen to Mondami, talks about us too. Hamas is not a regional terrorist organization. It is a branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood is an international terrorist organization. It is a terrorist organization on our books and all the Europeans' books. Hamas is part of the Muslim Brotherhood. It's one of its terrorist militia, like Islamic Jihad, like Al-Qaeda. I just don't think people in the West, whether they be diplomats or prime ministers or chancellors or presidents, quite understand what we're dealing with. Netanyahu does. His top brass does. They have to deal with it all the time. But I don't think in the West that we get it. You and I do, but I don't think people, we've got diplomats, there's a couple more detail, we'll iron this out. But if Hamas survives, then terrorism survives. People are going to get giddy, celebratory, very excited. The left wing in Israel will. The left wing in America will still hate Trump. They don't care. This cannot be a peace in our time moment. It must not be a peace in our time moment. I'm not saying it's going to be. I have great faith in our president, so I'm not saying it's going to be. But I can't wait to see what this is. Because I've gotten the sense over the last several days that Hamas was not going to be obliterated and that there was going to be some kind of deal, period. And I recall when the Israelis had a gun at their head, it wasn't that long ago, and they were told the president was going to announce a deal on a Monday, and they were still talking on Sunday about changing language and so forth. And you had the leaks to Axios. You have a self-hating Israeli over there, Barak Ravin, who's a mouthpiece for anti-Israel, anti-Likud, anti-Netanyahu propaganda. He had the same thing in other media outlets that were being leaked. Netanyahu was dragging his feet. Netanyahu's Have you noticed, America, Mr. and Mrs. America, has anybody said Hamas is dragging their feet? Do they criticize Hamas? Not a word. Nothing. Because it's much easier to pound the crap out of a democracy and Netanyahu, an ally, than it is a real enemy and a terrorist organization that's resisting. It's much easier, if you want a deal, to force the good guys to relent and to threaten them than it is the bad guys. So all this stuff is swirling around. You and I are in the dark, but at some point we won't be. We'll take a good, close look. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. For decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. Call them as I see them, baby. Wherever it goes, but that's what I do, and I think that's why you're here. That's why I love it when people talk about what we conservatives think, who've never lifted a finger for conservatism, for any cause. Again, whether it's Catarleson, or Bannon, or Kelly, or the rest of them. Owens, I mean, she should be wearing a uniform now, don't you think, Mr. Producer? With a special salute. I just think there's some people out there who are mentally unhinged. And they get increasingly mentally unhinged. Some of them are flat-out grifters. They know exactly what they're doing. Some of them are unsure what to do. They're unsure what to do, so they kind of have 1 foot over here and 1 foot over there, and they get very offended when somebody notices it. My attitude in life, not just in this career, but in life is stand on your principles. Make sure they're solid principles. You want to defend them, you can argue them, debate them, confront those who may disagree with you. Try to do so with smarts, with knowledge, with substance, maybe some humor. Sometimes you need humiliation, and sometimes you need humility. Most of the people I find that I am condemning and dealing with seem to me to be very sick. Not all, but most. Something's not right with them. And almost none of them have ever demonstrated a spirit of conservative activism, of constitutional activism. Oh, they'll go now to events, they'll speak at events, they want to draw crowds, but they've never built movements, they've never participated in movements. It's like a surfer who rides the top of the waves. That's what they do. They really built nothing and done nothing except enrich themselves. When they put out books with their names on them, they don't write them. And I could go on and on. Well, the government shut down. The vast majority of you have not felt this. The bureaucracy wants to make sure that you do. The Democrats want to make sure you do. The media want to make sure you do. The Democrats are just saying, look, we'll open it up. Those parts that are closed, 17%. Only if you, among other things, spend another $1.5 trillion, $200 billion on health care for illegal aliens and able-bodied Americans. Oh, and now we want to fix Obamacare. Now, this is precious. This is an irony, isn't it? Obamacare, which we spent God knows how much airtime behind this microphone telling you how lousy Obamacare is and that it can't work. Well, it turns out it's a money pit. When we come back, what is it about Obamacare that the Obamaites want to now save at your expense? It is the disaster we always said it was. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mike Lawler.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Well, it's been announced, but the President of the United States sent me this text. Mark, this is a great deal for Israel, for the entire world. You have it first. Love President Trump. I tell you, he's a fantastic human being. This is the deal on Truth Social. I'm very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means that all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps toward a strong, durable, and everlasting peace, is from the president. All parties will be treated fairly. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, and the United States of America. And we thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey who work with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. Blessed are the peacemakers. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. There we have it. I briefly called the president. I won't get into it because I don't get into it. He was still working the phone, so he wasn't able to come on. And just to give his thoughts, I think, well, let's see if we can. If I can just nab him just for a minute or two. But he was extremely apologetic because he loves this audience. You know, this audience, you folks, you were the first major audience to get behind him. It's true. And you're the big audience in 2016. And not only that, 2020, we turned out the vote. And of course, in 2024, this last November when we did what we did. I get it. We don't get the attention of others because people do not comprehend the size, the breadth, the depth and length of this program. They don't. And they never will. And so what? But we are everywhere. You can try us anywhere. Everywhere. Which means you, this town hall meeting. So those are the broad parameters as put out by the president. Those broad parameters sound good to me. Now we'll see about all the details and all the rest. President's really quite enthusiastic about this. And I want to be as well. But, you know, I'm always in the trust but verify phase. So let's see. Let's see what it looks like. But early on, these broad parameters seem pretty good, don't they? And we'll see. Let's see. All right. Now I'm being inundated, Mr. Producer. All right, let's move on. And again, the particulars will eventually come out. The president has made his announcement. And we shall see where it goes. Now, most of the media won't care what's in the details. They'll just be giddy and celebratory and so forth. And peace in our time. I don't know. What is it? I don't know. When dealing with Islamists and terrorists who've killed us, killed others, I just want to be a little more careful, Mr. Producer. Is there something wrong with that? Yeah, I think so, too. Makes sense. Now, one of the things the president did today was crucially important, incredibly important. Well, he does a lot of things that are, but this one really grabbed my attention. And that was this meeting he had and the roundtable he had with real independent journalists who are on the ground, who are being brutalized, almost murdered, assaulted by Antifa and their ilk. And the President of the United States says he's hell-bent on getting to the bottom of this, finding out the funding sources, who's behind it. You know, bringing back law and order, bringing these people to heel, to punish them. Very, very important. And I think it needs to be done because all this violence is coming from the left. It's coming from the Marxists. It's coming from the Islamists. And that's key, too. Understanding that the Marxists have now fused with the Islamists. And by the way, make sure you watch my Blaze show tonight and especially tomorrow night on Pluto. Your eyes are going to pop out of your heads. Make sure you check it out. Because the things I discussed there and the things I'm reporting there are unfriggin' believable. Unbelievable about what's going on in our country. It's not even under the radar anymore. It's right in front of our eyes. Right in front of our eyes. Anyway, so the president is dealing with Antifa, which is this violent, horrendous organization, and others. The funding sources. You know, it's very interesting. There's a couple of billionaires and several who are overseas. It's not just Soros here, but a couple billionaires who are overseas who are funding this stuff. We have foreign governments funding this stuff right here in our country. And I want to read something to you. I'm busy pulling it up, trying to find it right now. Here we go. Damn computer, Mr. Producer. I don't know if it's the software, the computer, my hands. I don't know what it is. Well, let's take a look. Okay, here we are. Got it. But we have people overseas, for instance. We have a guy by the name of Neville Roy Singham. I've talked to you about him before. Neville Roy Singham. The New York Post has done good stories on this over the past. Chinese government, this is a Breitbart. Chinese government records list left-wing billionaire Neville Roy Singham, S-I-N-G-H-A-M, as corporate officer for ThoughtWorks in Beijing. Tech billionaire turned left-wing agitator. He journeyed from Chicago-based entrepreneur to Shanghai resident. He's been anything but ordinary. After founding ThoughtWorks, Inc. in 1993 and building the company into a software consulting powerhouse, Singham helped orchestrate its sale in October 2017 for approximately $785 million. Of course, by now it's worth billions. To a group of funds managed by London-based private equity firm Apex Partners. Corporate records from the UK confirm Singham's resignation from ThoughtWorks that same month. And his own LinkedIn profile says he's been retired since 2017. ThoughtWorks' English language website relegates him to its alum section, reinforcing the image of a clean break. But Chinese government records suggest otherwise. These records list Singham as a corporate officer of ThoughtWorks' Chinese subsidiary, ThoughtWorks Beijing, as recently as June 17, 2025. And for at least as far back as 2022. These records are from the National Enterprise Credit Reporting System, China's corporate registry. Other documents, including trade show profiles and help wanted ads, listed Singham as ThoughtWorks Beijing's official conduct in 2021. When asked for comment specifically about the records for ThoughtWorks Beijing, a spokesman for ThoughtWorks responded, Roy's affiliation with ThoughtWorks ended when he sold the company in 2017 to Apex. ThoughtWorks has not been involved with Roy in a business capacity since he sold the company. This is this left-wing billionaire who's funding the overthrow, and many of them are, I should say several of them are, of the United States. Singham has been in the news a lot lately, most notably in connection with his role in funding the anti-Israel and sometimes anti-Semitic protest movement on college campuses. A 2023 report from the New York Post found that Singham and his wife, left-wing Code Pink co-founder Jody Evans, had donated over $20.4 million to the People's Forum from 2017 to 2022 through a series of shell organizations and donor advisory groups, accounting for nearly all the group's funding. Evans sits on the People's Forum's board of directors, and it goes on. And this group has put itself at the forefront of the anti-Israel protest movement. Following the October 7 Hamas terror attack, the People's Forum wasted no time drumming up opposition to Israel, organizing a rally in Times Square on October 8th, the next day, mere hours after the Hamas massive murderous attacks and kidnappings. So he's funding that, Code Pink, the overthrow of the United States. He's funding all this stuff from Shanghai, China. Shanghai, China. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
All Our society works because of the freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment. Everyday Americans should be able to speak openly and honestly about family and traditional values without retribution from the government. And that's a principle Pure Talk proudly supports. They sponsor my show, which allows me to stand strong behind the microphone every day and share the truth with you. If you want to support brands that defend freedom and pro-American values, I strongly encourage you to switch your wireless service to Pure Talk. You're going to get great 5G coverage on an extremely reliable and secure network, and with plans from just $25 a month, you'll save a ton of money. And Pure Talk also believes in creating American jobs and supporting America's small businesses. So if you're a small business owner, you can save even more while enjoying white glove service. Stand with the companies who share your values. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/LEVIN to switch to my favorite wireless company right now, Pure Talk, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, puretalk.com/LEVIN. Make the switch, folks. Make it today. Well, we're here with our friend, Representative Mike Lawler. Well, there are breaking events. There are a couple other things I want to talk about as well, Mike, but we have very basic information here from the president. I'll be very interested in the details. The president says, I'm very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means that all the hostages will be released very soon. Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps toward a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, and the United States. We thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt, Turkey, who work with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. Blessed are the peacemakers, the president. And I have to be honest, he sent it to me. He says, Mark, this is a great deal for Israel and the entire world. Just out. You have it first. Love President Trump. Now, first of all, Congressman, I have great faith in President Trump. He is a strong supporter of Israel. He's been his entire life, and he's demonstrated that. He's been much stronger than most of the people or even around him, and much stronger than most. He's been the best friend Israel has had, so that's a very important fact. I will, of course, want to see all the details as well. I'm sure you will, too. But what do you make of this? It's kind of hard to make a whole lot out of it, but it would be a blessed day if the hostages get out, right?
Well, no question, Mark. I think all of us have been staunch in our support of Israel and not only their right to defend themselves, but the right of the Jewish people to practice their faith without fear of persecution or facing a terrorist attack, which is exactly what we saw on October 7th as we commemorated the 2-year anniversary. It's hard to believe it's been 2 years. President Trump has worked tirelessly since taking office to, number one, get the hostages home, including the 2 Americans that remain in captivity. They are deceased, Omir Nutra and Itai Chen. Both of their families deserve closure. They deserve to have their sons back home so they can give them a proper burial. President Trump has been working tirelessly along with his team to not only secure a peace deal, but to get these hostages home. And I think, obviously, as part of the first phase here, we want these hostages released. I've made clear, as I know you believe, there can be no backsliding here. Hamas cannot remain in power. And once the hostages are released, the second phase obviously will need to be implemented. But there can be no peace with Hamas in power. And I've been clear about that from the start. And will certainly accept nothing less.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you, and you've been fantastic. It's interesting. You still have Qatar funding our colleges and universities. They play a double game. This is going to have to work its way out, because I'm not going to stop criticizing Qatar. I'm not going to stop demanding that they stop poisoning our schools and colleges and our businesses and our politics. They spread billions around. They had a role in 9/11. They had a very direct role in October 7th. They had a role with the Taliban. And look, they haven't been forced to swear off anything, Mike. And at some point, this has to be confronted.
Ultimately, Qatar is going to have to choose a side. You can't play all sides, and you can't be everything to everyone. And, obviously throughout these 2 years, in one respect, they've been helpful in trying to work through the hostage negotiations. But on the other hand, they house Al Jazeera. They house Hamas's leadership. And so, from my vantage point, there needs to be a very honest and forthright discussion with the Qataris as we move forward. But, again, it goes back to the number one priority here has been to get the hostages home. And to that end, they have been helpful. But to your larger point, there are a lot of things that still have to be addressed, including their funding of education here in the United States, which includes curriculum that wipes Israel off the face of the earth and off of maps that are being used in New York City public schools, which is just insane.
Let's talk about this situation with the Democrats and the government and the shutdown and all the rest. People were getting into Mike Johnson's face, and you stepped up to defend him. And then you confronted, I thought, in a very civil way, Hakeem Jeffries, who got very offended very quickly and wanted to give you the talking points. You weren't interested in the talking points. You were interested in having a discussion with him. Mr. Producer, let's pull that clip. It's hard to hear exactly. We're going to play part of this, and then I'd like you to respond to it if you don't mind, Congressman. Go ahead, Rich.
Why don't we sign on right now?
Let me ask you a question. Did you get permission from your boss?
Why don't we sign on right now?
Did your boss, Donald Trump?
You can easily extend the ACA right now.
Did your boss, Donald Trump,
He's not my boss.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. And by the way,
let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote to shut the government down? Why did you vote to shut it down?
Let me ask you a question.
For years, you always lectured about how we need to keep the government open.
You're making a show of this to make yourself relevant.
No, it's sad. You could easily sign on to this.
You're embarrassing yourself right now.
You could sign on to this. The only embarrassment here is you.
You're an embarrassment.
You could sign on to the bill.
Let me ask you a question.
You have 4 Democrats on here. Why won't you sign on to it?
Let me ask you a question.
It's a clean extension for 1 year.
You voted for the one big ugly bill, correct?
I voted for a tax cut bill that gave the largest tax cut to Americans in history, including, by the way, the average New Yorker getting a $4,000 tax cut. Are you against that?
You're embarrassing yourself right now.
Do you want to cut this?
All right, let's stop right there because it goes on. And you'll notice, America, Hakeem Jeffries is very personal in his attacks on you, Mike Lawler. And the other thing is, does he not realize that you fought for up to a $40,000 deduction, up from $10,000 that blue states desperately wanted? And by the way, so did I. So do red states. But you get the point. And he keeps talking about tax cuts for billionaires when that's going to help the middle class massively. Yeah, I want you to respond to him, to me.
It was remarkable, Mark. He couldn't answer a single question. He was stuttering, stammering, yelling, pointing his finger at me. And he really just refused to answer my basic points, which was, number one, he voted to shut the government down. In fact, I voted 3 weeks ago to keep the government open and funded. And he and his Democratic cohorts voted to shut it down because they're petrified of AOC, Zohran Mamdani, and the radical left. The bottom line
I want to pursue this. It's a bad time to have a hard break. I want to continue. This is very, very important. So don't go away, America. We'll be right back with Congressman Mike Lawler of New York. Our society works because of the freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment. Everyday Americans should be able to speak openly and honestly about family and traditional values without retribution from the government. And that's a principle Pure Talk proudly supports. They sponsor my show, which allows me to stand strong behind the microphone every day and share the truth with you. If you want to support brands that defend freedom and pro-American values, I strongly encourage you to switch your wireless service to Pure Talk. You're going to get great 5G coverage on an extremely reliable and secure network, and with plans from just $25 a month, you'll save a ton of money. And Pure Talk also believes in creating American jobs and supporting America's small businesses. So if you're a small business owner, you can save even more while enjoying white glove service. Stand with the companies who share your values. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/LEVIN to switch to my favorite wireless company right now, Pure Talk, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, puretalk.com/LEVIN. Make the switch, folks. Make it today.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
We have Representative Mike Lawler with us. Now, we read the statement from the president. Here's the statement from the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. It says, a big day for Israel. I will convene the government tomorrow to approve the agreement and bring all our precious hostages home. I thank the heroic IDF soldiers and all the security forces, thanks to whose courage and sacrifice we have reached this day. I thank President Trump and his team from the bottom of my heart for their commitment to this sacred mission of freeing our hostages. With God's help, together, we will continue to achieve all our goals and expand peace with our neighbors. That's Benjamin Netanyahu. What do you make of that, Congressman Lawler?
I think it's obviously a very positive development, and certainly appreciate the Prime Minister's words. You know, the reality is because of what Benjamin Netanyahu has done and because of what the IDF has done, the Middle East is in a better place today than it was prior to October 7th. Hamas and Hezbollah have been largely decimated. Iran's air defense and nuclear capabilities have been demolished. Syria has fallen under Assad's regime. So the Middle East is in a position where we can actually bring about peace and stability, and President Trump is the right person in this moment to do it.
Do you think this is part of the reason why Netanyahu is so hated by the leftist governments all over Europe and by leftists in America and anti-Semites on the right in America? They keep focusing on trashing Netanyahu. You make a point that's so important. Really, none of this is possible. The foundation couldn't have been laid for this, but for the success of Israel militarily.
No question. This never would have happened. And I think, you know, obviously the United States has been a strong partner and an ally of Israel every step of the way. But the decisions that were made by Israel ultimately are what laid this foundation. And I just, you know, I hearken back. You look at what happened on 9/11 and the aftermath of 9/11 and what the United States did to hold those accountable. Nobody was saying it was a genocide. Nobody was, you know, demanding the U.S. not defend themselves. Israel has not only a right, it has an obligation to do so, to protect its citizens. And by the way, you have over 700,000 Americans living in Israel. Okay, it's the size of almost a congressional district in terms of Americans living there. So when people ask, why does Israel matter to the United States? It matters not only because of our shared values and heritage and culture and the Judeo-Christian values that are at the foundation of our Constitution. It matters because Americans live there. And this is not just an attack on Israel, it's an attack on America.
Now let's get back to this Hakeem Jeffries. You know, it's funny. They talk about we want to fix our health care system. It's because Obamacare is a failure. Obamacare is a black hole. People get very poor coverage at a very high rate. We were told this would fix our health care system. So now the Democrats, I mean, what are they, Houdini? The Democrats here are, number one, a continuing resolution, as you pointed out to Jeffries. Look, we just need to carry us forward to finish the appropriations process. Then they say, well, we want to make this a health care issue. What's the problem? Obamacare. What's the problem? They're funding illegal aliens. They really are just trying to duke this out within the Democrat Party against Democrats, are they not?
Completely. Look, this is entirely about the pressures they're feeling from the left, both in terms of policy, but also in terms of quote unquote standing up to Trump. And that's all this is about. But let's focus in on the healthcare for a second. Since 2010, when Obamacare passed, healthcare premiums in the United States have risen by over 60%. Obamacare was supposed to solve this problem. It was supposed to cut down healthcare costs for Americans and increase access. And it's done anything but that. And so the only way for this to be affordable is for subsidies to be put in place. These subsidies, which, okay, I'm fine extending it by a year to give people time to help ensure that people don't get sticker shock. And I've signed on to legislation to do that. And part of the reason I went to go see Hakeem Jeffries today was to say to him, look, if you're so serious about this, sign on to this 1-year extension. Why won't you sign on to this bill? And he had no answers whatsoever because nobody's called him out on it, because it's all a bunch of nonsense. Meanwhile, in New York, Tom DiNapoli, the Democratic controller, comes out with a report that $1.2 billion of taxpayer funds were spent on non-New York State residents for Medicaid premiums. People who don't live in New York taxpayers are paying for their health care. And that's before you even get to the illegals that New York has been spending billions of dollars on health care to. And Kathy Hochul came to Washington and testified when I asked her point blank, do you support using taxpayer money to provide free health care to illegal immigrants? And she said yes. And she admitted that she expanded Medicaid in New York to do it. So if Jeffries and Schumer are so against this now, as they claim, then they should be demanding Kathy Hochul immediately end those taxpayer subsidies on Medicaid to illegal immigrants. But they're not, and we know they're not. They're full of it.
Yeah, they're opposed. They won't oppose these subsidies, and yet he's barking at you about tax cuts you got for the vast majority of your constituents, middle class, hardworking firefighters, police officers, electricians, plumbers, everybody. But you and a handful of others fought for that. And by the way, I was proud of you because I agree with you. I thought it was ridiculous, but not because it's blue state, red state. It's because it's taxpayers, individual taxpayers.
It's double taxation.
And look what you've achieved. And he's opposed to it.
Well, it was remarkable. For New York, the average New Yorker is going to get a $4,000 tax cut under this bill, in large measure because we were able to lift the cap on state and local taxes and your ability to deduct that. And he opposed what we did. He was ranting and raving that it's tax cuts for the billionaires. We put in income limits. The only people who qualify are those making $500,000 or less. That's not the millionaires and the billionaires. So the fact is, we produced tax cuts for New Yorkers in a state that is besieged by high taxes. And then you got Zohran Mamdani out there who's talking about raising taxes by $9 billion on an annual basis. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. First of all, you got those tax cuts for everybody. I just want to be clear to the entire audience.
No question.
Everybody in every state who earns under $500,000.
Regardless. No question. And by the way, Mark, you look at Texas. Texas saw their property taxes go up 37% over the last few years. People are going to benefit significantly from these tax cuts that we implemented under this working families tax cut bill.
By the way, you want to talk about a radical? I don't think there should be any limit on it. You're lucky you got what you got. Don't get me wrong. You fought like hell for it. But prior to all this, there was no limit on it. Period.
Correct. It was unlimited.
Yeah. All right. Listen, and then the last thing I want to ask you about is this. This ICE stuff, these Democrat mayors and these Democrat governors, they don't have the right, they don't have the constitutional power to prevent the federal government from finding particularly illegal aliens, but criminal illegal aliens, and removing them from the country. What is up with these governors and these mayors?
They have lost all perspective and all reality. Look, we are a generous people, and we are a generous nation, and we welcome immigrants into this country. My wife is an immigrant. But the fact is that you cannot allow this chaos to continue. President Trump has secured the border. He stopped this massive influx of illegal immigration, 5 straight months of net zero illegal border crossing, which is unheard of in American history. And then you have Democratic mayors and governors refusing to cooperate with federal law enforcement, federal immigration and customs officials, and preventing them from doing their jobs, allowing ICE agents to be assaulted, to be impeded, to be barricaded. It is outrageous. It is wrong. And they should be held accountable for it.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about your race, and if people want to help you in New York or around the country, where do they go?
They can go to lawlerforcongress.com or text Mike to 85007. I have one of the most competitive races in the country. Kamala Harris won my district, one of only 3 Republicans in Congress in a district that Harris won. And as Hakeem Jeffries said today, you know, I have a big target on my back, and they're going to make my district number one. But the reality is my district's the difference between having a House Republican majority or not. So we need everybody's help. If you can donate, please go to LawlerForCongress.com.
All right, America, LawlerForCongress.com is my strong endorsement. LawlerForCongress.com, LawlerForCongress.com. He's targeted by Hakeem Jeffries. And Jeffries looked very, very cocky today, but he was outrageous. He was, I mean, just personal attacks. If that's the best they can do, well, maybe they do need a different guy as their leader. Mike Lawler, thank you, my friend. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
All right, you take care of yourself. Now, he's your congressman, isn't he, Rich? That's your guy, right? And by the way, you're not going to get any better out of that district. You're not going to get anybody as conservative, as articulate. That's a good question, Rich. Did you vote for Kamala? Well, somebody voted for his district for Kamala. You sure that wasn't you? Oh, you think you slipped? All right. Let's see here. You just sent it to me, right? Bear with me. I'm having a printer issue. I'll tell you what. We're going to take a little break, and then I'll hit this. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Our society works because of the freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment. Everyday Americans should be able to speak openly and honestly about family and traditional values without retribution from the government. And that's a principle Pure Talk proudly supports. They sponsor my show, which allows me to stand strong behind the microphone every day and share the truth with you. If you want to support brands that defend freedom and pro-American values, I strongly encourage you to switch your wireless service to Pure Talk. You're going to get great 5G coverage on an extremely reliable and secure network, and with plans from just $25 a month, you'll save a ton of money. And Pure Talk also believes in creating American jobs and supporting America's small businesses. So if you're a small business owner, you can save even more while enjoying white glove service. Stand with the companies who share your values. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my favorite wireless company right now, Pure Talk. And you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, puretalk.com/Levin. Make the switch, folks. Make it today. All right. So much breaking here but that's why we're here, America. So the Prime Minister is pleased with what's taking place of Israel. The President's pleased with what's taking place. So it must be pretty good, don't you think, Mr. Producer? One can hope. That's right. We're going to take a look at these things, too. You and me. You, all of you out there and me, we'll take a look at this once we can actually, put our hands around it and go through some of the particulars as well. There's a lot of positive out there right now, which is also good. So we'll see. So there we are. I like this part of what Lawler had to say to Hakeem Jeffries. I hope he can hear this, because it's a rare moment when a member of the House on the Republican side actually is able to confront Hakeem Jeffries. But Hakeem Jeffries immediately turned to personal insults. Cut 7. Nice and loud there, Rich. Go.
Because you're so afraid of Zohran Mandami. By the way, when are you endorsing him?
By the way,
do you endorse him for mayor?
First of all, are you
going to endorse him for mayor?
Listen, you're a complete and total embarrassment right now.
Why is that? Because you don't want to answer the question?
Is this supposed to be a video for your failed re-election?
You don't want to answer the question? Do you support Zohran? By the way, did you see his statement yesterday?
Listen.
An embarrassment on October 7th, blaming the Jews? You support that? Should he be the Democratic nominee for mayor?
First of all, I don't answer to you. Should he be the Democratic mayor?
Should he be the Democratic nominee for mayor?
I'll answer whatever questions I need to answer about the mayor's race.
So you think his statement yesterday was okay?
First of all,
that's sad.
Would you remind America, give me that again, where you can help Mike Lawler get reelected, because he's being targeted by Jeffries. We really need him back. It's a marginal district. It's actually a Democrat. Hold on now. It's actually a Democrat district. Go ahead. What is it? That's it? .com? LawlerForCongress.com. Lawler, Lawler for Congress.com. That's it. Yeah, let's post it. Or you did. That's epic. That was epic. That was fantastic, in my humble opinion. And look, I believe in these tax deductions. I believe in paying as little in taxes as you have to for the basics. Cops, firefighters, stuff like that, sewage systems, the basics. But redistribution of wealth, funding left-wing, non-governmental organizations that try and destroy our country, stuff like that, all that needs to go. And all these freebies for freeloaders, whether they be illegal aliens or American citizens, that's got to go too. That's what Mondami is all about. He's a fraud, a phony, and a fink. That's what he's all about. He's a fraud, a phony, and a fink. And they expect that this is going to be the way to electoral fantasy land. You got this guy, Cory Booker. He's a drama queen. That's what he is. There was a lot of hope for this guy when he was mayor of Newark, new kind of Democrat. No, he's another schmo. And here he is with Wolf Blitzer. Wolf Blitzer looks like he's, they got to fill they got to fill his medicine with something. Or he's got to take his medicine before he asks a question. All right, let's play this. Cut 5, go.
Why not vote to fund the government, keep it open now, and negotiate on the health subsidies, which won't end for several more weeks, and let that play out in the coming weeks, but at the same time, keep the government open?
Hold on, that's actually a good question. What happened? Somebody wrote him a good question? That's a damn good question. Wolf, you've only been on the air 712 years. He finally asked a good question. Go ahead.
Question, because it is not true that this is a clean CR. What we see for the last we have seen for the last 4 years, why there was no government shutdown when Democrats controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House, is they brought all the parties to the table, and we did it in a bipartisan process.
Why do you need to bring all the parties to the table? All you have to do is vote on current spending levels. I don't even understand that. To negotiate what? I think I heard Ron Johnson say that Chuck Schumer, who's been in Congress his entire life, really, right from the womb to the House of Representatives, that Schumer has voted over 50 times for these clean continuing resolution. And the clean continuing resolution means you don't touch anything. You just extend the spending, the budget, for the period of time, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, while all the other appropriations are coming in. And Wolf Blitzer, to his credit, it pains me, he said, well, why don't you vote for the extension and negotiate on the health care on the side? Well, because it's not a clean continuing resolution. So they're liars. Cory Booker's a liar. But then again, he's a Democrat. We'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mike Lawler.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Well, I can't get enough of this clip where Congressman Mike Lawler is really laying into Hakeem Jeffries. And Mike Lawler is in a very tough race, in a very difficult district. I draw your attention to that. Let's take a listen. This is Today. Go.
Because you're so afraid of Zohran Mamdani. By the way, when are you endorsing him?
By the way,
do you endorse him for mayor?
First of all, are you
going to endorse him for mayor?
Listen, you're a complete and total embarrassment right now.
Why is that? Because you don't want to answer the question?
Is this supposed to be a video for your failed re-election?
You don't want to answer the question? Do you support Zohran? By the way, did you see his statement yesterday?
Listen.
An embarrassment on October 7th blaming the Jews? You support that? Should he be the Democratic nominee for mayor?
First of all, I don't answer to you.
Should he be the Democratic mayor? Should he be the Democratic nominee for mayor?
Whatever questions I need to answer about the mayor's race.
So you think his statement yesterday was okay?
First of all,
that's sad.
Wow. Perfect. Notice no violence, no cussing, no cursing. Yep. Michael Goodwin's a great columnist over there at the New York Post. He says the New York Times should be ashamed of covering up Biden-appointed Jack Smith spying on Republican senators. And I thought, as somebody that, they take a peek at the New York Times from time to time. What is he talking about? That's pretty crazy. Leftist media outlets, he writes, never tire of preaching that the great lesson of Watergate is that the cover-up is worse than the crime. Fair enough. But the lesson would be more credible if those same outlets followed their own advice. The leader of the leftist pack, the New York Slimes, my word, proved again on Tuesday it's engaged in a massive cover-up of its own. Well, it's got a whole history of this, the Holocaust and so forth. The evidence is that the paper failed to report what was arguably the biggest news Monday out of Washington, that Jack Smith, the headhunting special counsel appointed by Joe Biden's administration to prosecute Donald Trump, also teamed up with the FBI to spy on nearly a dozen Republican senators. The New York Times didn't even report it. Thankfully, under new management, the FBI blew the whistle on itself, with Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino revealing that Smith and a team of agents investigating the Capitol riot of January 6, 2021, were tracking the communications and phone calls of Senators Lindsey Graham, Marsha Blackburn, Ron Johnson, who will be on my Life, Liberty, and Levin Saturday. You're not going to want to miss that. Josh Hawley, Cynthia Loomis, and Tommy Tuberville. Patel and Bongino said some of the agents involved in the improper snooping have been fired, and the two are continuing to probe the affair. The misdeeds involve subpoenas to phone companies, with only senators from the opposing party targeted. At least part of the effort overlapped with Nancy Pelosi's House partisan so-called select committee investigating the events of January 6th. Regardless, the fact that the FBI was targeting elected Republican leaders is a bombshell story by any standard. And I just want to add, the second bombshell, which needs to be investigated, is who knew about it at the higher levels. I can tell you, as somebody that worked at the Justice Department at the highest levels, that a special counsel or a prosecutor of any kind would not be seeking subpoenas and getting subpoenas of senators' phone records without the higher-ups approving it. There's just no way. Especially in the light of the decades-long history, the FBI's habit of spying on domestic political dissidents, he writes, going back to the early days of the Cold War and lasting through the Civil Rights Movement. The low point came under J. Edgar Hoover, who hated Martin Luther King Jr., aimed to destroy him by linking him to the Communist Party. Of course, he had help with that by the Kennedys. So far, the current controversy is hardly the equal of that sort of affair, but it's a very big deal anytime the FBI surveils elected officials and private citizens for political reasons. I'm not sure I agree with that. I mean, we're not even talking about one senator here. We're talking about several senators. Yet there wasn't a single word of this huge news in the Slimes. The facts are inconvenient for the paper's narrative, which is Trump is in a class by himself when it comes to weaponizing the Department of Justice for political purposes. Moreover, to report the facts about Smith would require the Times to admit its role in protecting the Biden regime during Smith's tenure. Yes, that's right. So it continued to follow its playbook, Biden good, Trump bad, with its turnkey of a distracting headline. Quote, as Trump's Justice Department pursues its enemies, an ally goes on trial. Huh? The story was about a small-time donor to Trump's 2020 campaign charged with gathering illegal donations from Chinese citizens, highlighting this inconsequential case that gave the great lady a chance to jump on its hobby horse that Trump, unlike all his predecessors, routinely uses the Justice Department to go after his enemies. Except that's exactly what Biden did and Obama did. In fact, they used the CIA, too, and the other intelligence services. That's where the Times' own cover-up comes into play, right? When you've been riding shotgun for the corrupt deep state for a decade, as the paper has, The last thing you want to report is that your sources are guilty of the very things you accuse Trump of doing. The FBI, then under James Comey, relentlessly leaked to the Times, especially in the Russia hoax. The paper proved itself a loyal errand boy for whatever lies Comey and his band of dirty cops wanted to spread to hobble the new president. More to the point, the paper's editors know their claim that Trump alone politicizes law enforcement is false because of the recipient of these leaks. They know that because they knew Biden did it first. They reported it, albeit in a very roundabout way. The Times disclosed Biden took office wanting his Justice Department to prosecute Trump. Its reporters had the goods, but trying to avoid making a Democrat it endorsed look bad, they backed into the story. In an article on April 2, 2022, that focused on Merrick Garland. Why isn't Merrick Garland being forced to testify or being questioned? What happened to him? Is he another one that's not mentally fit? I'm curious. I'm not mocking. I don't know. And he goes on to recount what was done to Trump by the New York Times. But it is interesting, isn't it, how the New York Times isn't reporting on it or didn't? I mean, how do you even get away with that? And claim to be a real newspaper, the paper of record. How do you even get away with that? You know, Jim Trusty and I were talking last evening about how this propaganda from the Democrats and what you see happening with ICE and the assassination of Kirk and the assassination attempts against the president and the assassination of the young couple that worked for the Israeli embassy and on and on and on, and how the Democrats just keep going on and on, the left keeps going on and on, that this could happen again. And he said, and I agreed, that it will happen again. And so here we have, from WUSA Channel 9 in Washington, D.C., a large cache of homemade destructive devices. Court documents give insight into arrest of a man with Molotov cocktails outside the Washington, D.C. Cathedral. Court documents are giving new insight into the arrest of a man accused of having a tent of explosives on the steps of a high-profile D.C. cathedral last weekend. Metropolitan Police Department said Louis Geary, 41, had set up a tent on the steps of the cathedral at St. Matthew's the Apostle on Rhode Island Avenue Northwest and refused to leave Sunday morning. Court documents obtained by WUSA 9 showed the police officers were helping clear the block of special religious event at the cathedral. One officer noticed Geary on the top of the steps shortly before 5:15 a.m. The officer reportedly told Geary that he needed to move the tent he had erected on the stairs off the church grounds. That's when Geary allegedly refused and told the officer, "You might want to stay back and call the federales. I have explosive bombs." Sergeant came to help and told Geary she was the bomb squad. Court documents describe Geary as sounding agitated as he spoke through the tent, and the sergeant told Geary that there was going to be an event and they needed him to move. He allegedly admitted that he was aware of the event before threatening to throw an explosive bomb out of the tent. "You want me to throw one out?" Geary quoted, saying in the court documents, "I'll test one out in the street. I have 100+ of them. If you just step back, I'll throw one in the street. No one will get hurt. There'll be a hole in the street. If you just step back, I'll take out that tree. No one will get hurt. There will just be a hole there, a tree where a tree used to be." You see, it's the nut jobs. Some of them aren't nut jobs. Some of them are very, they're just craven. But nut jobs are triggered by this propaganda and so forth. While trying to de-escalate the situation, the sergeant agreed to look at something Geary had written upon opening the tent. Sergeant saw a butane light in Geary's hand and several pages of torn-out notebook paper with writing on it. The paperwork was reportedly titled "Written Negotiations for the Avoidance of Destruction of Property via Detention of Explosives." It allegedly revealed Geary's significant animosity towards the Catholic Church, members of the Jewish faith, members of the Supreme Court, and ICE. See, it's perfect. Catholic Church, Jews, the Supreme Court justices, and ICE. all of which are on the hit list of the Democrat Party. Yeah, pretty sick. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Elise Stefanik is one of our favorite people, not just politicians, one of our favorite people. And it appears that in a poll in New York, her chances are surging. From Breitbart, House Republican leadership chairwoman Elise Stefanik is nipping at Governor Kathy heels after the embattled governor endorsed Democrat nominee, communist, Islamist, American hater, Jew hater, multimillionaire Zoran Mandami for New York City mayor. A statewide poll obtained exclusively by Breitbart News, conducted on behalf of EPAC, her leadership PAC, shows Hochul in a deeply vulnerable position, with Stefanik within 5 points, and Hochul heading into the 2026 election, just as I said, 5 points ahead. It was a large group of people surveyed, likely voters. Again, that's the right group to survey. 48 to 43. Once voters contacted by the polls are aware of her position, that is, that she endorsed Mandami, Stefanik leads Hochul by 1 point, 46.4% to 45.9%. The data is clear that Kathy Hochul, the worst governor in America, is a deeply embattled and historically unpopular failed governor who's struggling to even gain support from her own party, Stefanik said. It's now crystal clear why Kathy Hochul bent the knee to the communist anti-Semite running for mayor of New York City, because she desperately needed to shore up her own party. Hochul's endorsement of Mandami shocked many political prognosticators, including President Donald Trump. He said Governor Kathy Hochul of New York has endorsed the little communist Zoran Mandami running for mayor of New York. There's a rather shocking development, and a very bad one for New York City, he said on Truth Social. How can such a thing happen? Washington will be watching this situation very closely. No reason to be sending good money after bad. Her stunt does not appear to be working. Mandami did not endorse her, the unpopular Hochul, after she endorsed him. I mean, think about what a nitwit she is. The polarizing Mandami has little reason to quickly endorse Hochul. Her popularity since her election has plummeted, as her stewardship of the state has earned little praise, including from her own party. Alex DeGrasse, Team Elise Executive Director, called the poll devastating for the worst governor in America, although there's like 10 of them that are tied for that. Hochul's Hochul's dismal record of failure and bending the knee to Kami Mandami is causing her already weak support to crater across New York. Voters want change and a governor who will fight for them, which is why they will resoundingly reject Hochul for new leadership and replace her with new leadership, Elise Stefanik, if she decides to run. I hope she decides to run. She'll have our strongest possible support. Wow, wouldn't that be fantastic? And, you know, I hate to say it, with Mandami as potential mayor, that's going to help Stefanik in the long run, because people are not going to want more of that. What's truly remarkable about this poll, it's before Elise has even formally announced her campaign, DeGrasse said. And DeGrasse is right. There's a reason why Kathy's running scared. So Stefanik hasn't even announced. She hasn't even announced. Okay. By the way, I'm sure you heard by now, James Comey pled not guilty. Fact is, you've been indicted. You're a defendant. And you'll always be an indicted defendant. They got a Biden judge. That's a big problem. That's the way it works out there. They just manage to get all the right judges, don't they? Seems that way. They managed to get all the right judges. A Biden judge. Let's see if we can slip one in here. We'll do our best, Mr. Producer. Lee from Leesburg, Virginia, the great WMAL. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, Mark, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Mark, the centerpiece, I guess, of this government shutdown is the funding of Obamacare and these
no, it's not.
Subsidies.
It's what the Democrats claim it is, but it's not the centerpiece. The centerpiece is that they want to fight over. So I'm going to hold you over. The centerpiece is, number one, most of the government's not shut down. And number two, they're going to try and make it as painful as possible. And number three, this shutdown, quote unquote, has nothing to do with health care. They're trying to make it an issue of health care. And they don't want people to know that they want to fund illegal alien health care. We'll be right back.
Making sure the land of the free and the home of the brave stays that way. Dial Mike Levin now at 877-381-3811.
All right, let's go back to our friend Lee in Leesburg, Virginia, the great WMAL. Lee, go right ahead again. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, thank you. And thank you for correcting me on the reasons for the shutdown. I'm just going to play their game. Mark,
But hold on now. You made a great point, though. Why don't we get rid of Obamacare? Nobody's even talking about that. That's a great point.
Yes.
It doesn't work. I'm with you. What?
Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mark, no, fine. The conditions that exist for the repeal of Obamacare are exactly the same as they were back in 2017, and I would argue they're even better now than they were then. Why aren't we getting rid of this inflationary bill right now? I would like to see them come out tomorrow and say, you know what, we're dusting off this repeal package from 2017, and we're going to put it on the floor, and we're going to vote on it, and Donald Trump's going to sign it.
Because what do they say? You can't kill a program in Washington, D.C. They're not going to do it, but they should do it. You are 100% correct. It's a great point. All right, Lee. Now, let me ask you something, Lee. I'm going to dump that, and I'm not going to tell the nation what we spoke about is for security reasons. So anyway, I shouldn't have said that.
I got it.
All right, my brother. Great call. Great point, as a matter of fact. It's our man Lee from Leesburg, Virginia. All right, let me see here. Who else do we have? Let's see here. Let us go to Joel, Naples, Florida. The great WFSX. Joel, how are you?
Hi, Mark. Good. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say this. I have all the respect and love for Israel. I've never been there, but so much that I've seen and so much that I know, and people that I know that are from Israel are wonderful people. But I'm a little bit upset because it seems like every time that a deal is made with Israel, they get the raw end of the stick. And especially now, they have to release, I guess, 250 criminals and from
and then 1,700 more.
Right. And then they don't even know where all the dead hostages are, and the 20 they don't even have confirmation if they're all alive.
And who's being pressured though? Right to the end, it's Israel, not Hamas. So we're going to look at the specifics of this detail. I mean, I like the opening comments, but you got to look at the details, and so we will look at this. I am mindful that it was good enough for Netanyahu and good enough for Trump. But, we think about these things independently, but at least at the front end, we'll see how this goes. And I'm told these lines that Israel's pulling back to, at least initially, are lines that they had agreed to in 2020. So that's not that massive of a give on their part. But I mean, the final point is Hamas going to surrender and be disarmed? And is that area going to be demilitarized? I assume that's quite important. And also, Israel needs to ensure its security. They cannot permit this to happen again. I understand the hostage families, and they're 100% right to be fighting like hell for their loved ones. But you don't want any more hostages. And so what Hamas has gotten out of this, if they survive, is whatever they do again, and they will do it again, grab as many hostages as you can. That's what they've learned from it, right?
I agree. And it's disgusting. And the other thing, too, is they've lost over, I guess, 1,500 plus IDF soldiers that were
That's
under
right.
the age of, I guess, between 20 to 21.
40% of them under the age of 21. And it is important that people understand that these people cannot be allowed to have died in vain. And I don't think the Israelis are going to allow that. But all these Arab countries and Muslim countries the president talks about all coming together, they're all happy about, who cares? That's just Mark speaking. They didn't lose anybody. And this constant praise for Qatar by everybody kind of drives me crazy. Qatar's the one that caused a lot of this to take place. Anyway, that's where we are, my friend. It's an excellent call. Thank you as well. Let's go to Ed, Charlotte, North Carolina, on the Mark Levin app. Go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I called a number of months back to point out about the tariffs. There's no free trade when a dictator like in China takes small losses to try to drive capital-intensive businesses out. I want to ask you about Chuck Schumer and your book Power, because he did. I want you to call him out every night. I'm going to challenge you to do that, because
I don't really take. This isn't like a DJ where you call out a record or something like that. I spend more time attacking Schumer than anybody else, but I'm not necessarily going to attack him every night. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, okay. Well, what I'm telling you is we have a Afro-American conservative local talk show host, and he flies once a month to see his mother. He's about 50. And so it's a personal thing. And he started raising Cain for 3 months before that airplane crash and saying Schumer's trying to cause plane crashes. He staffs his committee. He's head of the committee, staffing the air traffic controllers. He's cutting them back. He's asking for people that are mentally challenged or depressed. They can apply for jobs.
All right, slow down. You're saying Schumer wants airplanes to crash?
Yes, he was under. He's
All
on
right,
the.
thanks for your call, folks. I can't. I mean, I despise Schumer. But you really expect me to say Schumer wants airplanes to crash? I don't believe that. He might be a schmuck who's doing things that does cause it, but I don't think he wants airplanes to crash, okay? I don't know about the local host and all the rest of it, but I'm not buying into that stuff. It's called The Wrong Show. There's plenty of podcasters that will run with that, by the way, if you want to call them. Plenty of them. Okay, let us continue. Let's go to Andy, Edison, New Jersey. How are you, Andy?
Hey, Mark. Mark, you're a treasure, man. You were assistant chief of staff, but you were meant for this job. God bless
Well, first of all, you're very kind, but I was not an assistant chief of staff. I was the chief of staff. Go right ahead.
I apologize.
Don't apologize.
Hey, I just wanted to say this guy like Singham, you said he's doing all this funding. So this guy lives in a capitalistic society, makes $1 billion, and decides to go left and live in China.
Yeah.
And I don't understand the hubris or the arrogance of people like this who's taking it to the nth degree. If we go down, he becomes expendable. What happened to Jack Ma and all this? He kind of like disappeared, right? The guy that was the head of the TikTok in China, right? Where is he now?
Boy, that's a good question. Where is he? I don't know.
So, I mean, doesn't this guy realize that? It just makes no sense to me at all.
What you're saying is, as the libs like to say, but in the proper context, he'll be disappeared. Is that what you're saying?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, but right now he's living like a king. They love this guy, the Communist Chinese, because he's doing their dirty work. You see guys like him and Soros and the rest of them, they're funding the Islamists and the Marxists. They're funding the attacks on ICE directly and indirectly. They love to talk about billionaires paying more taxes, but their billionaires are hideous. They're dangerous. They're un-American for the most part. And so they like billionaires. They just don't like billionaires who are true blue capitalists who actually create jobs and are interested in supporting our country, not destroying it. Thanks for your call, my friend. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
By the way, Saturday we will have on our Life, Liberty, and Levin Senator Ron Johnson. Do this FBI stuff and so forth, and we're going to have the ambassador from Israel, Ambassador Leiter, to comment on this. And he lost his eldest son, who was in his 30s, who was a commander of a unit in the early days of the war in Gaza. He lost his eldest son. So what a lot of people don't understand in this country is that this government, which is headed by Netanyahu, and then you have the other ministers cobbled together with other conservative parties, their children, their relatives are not exempt from military service. And so many of them have family members right in the middle of this war as they're making decisions. We're going to take some final calls here, if I can pull this up properly. Give peace a chance. All right, here we go. The word is now that the president might actually travel to Israel at some point and give a speech to the Knesset, I believe at the invitation of Prime Minister Netanyahu. So this thing is moving along. The parties seem to be very pleased about it. I can't wait to see the specifics myself so we can share it, discuss it. Let's go to Adam in Bend, Oregon. KBND. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
I'm good. Mr. Levin, what an honor.
It's my pleasure.
I just had a quick question for you regarding the way that peace agreements, in quotes, go with radical Islamists. What is Israel's stance, or do they have anything comparable to our Second Amendment for their citizens?
That is a great question. They don't have a constitution. They don't have any amendments, therefore. And so they pass laws, or the courts impose rules and laws. And to answer your question, because I looked into this when I was last there a couple of weeks ago, I said, why isn't everybody armed here? And they apparently passed a law where more and more people are, in fact, armed since October 7th. Here's my concern about all this talk about peace. The president, the prime minister, everybody's happy. Maybe, I don't know yet. What is the role of Hamas now? I mean, Hamas is a terrorist group, part of the Muslim Brotherhood. It has an ideology that their thinking goes back to the 7th century. Terrorists, they sign things, they don't mean them. Are they going to wait out Trump and then do something if there's a Democrat administration? So I have a lot of those questions. Doesn't that make sense, Adam?
Yeah. And I was just thinking about what they did October 7th, and that was the more armed they are, in public hands there. I mean, that seems to be a good defense.
You're right. It's certainly an important one. I mean, obviously these safe rooms didn't work. But my question is now, what is the status of Hamas? What is going to happen with Hamas? Because Hamas is, it's a cancer. It metastasizes. And so it's going to be very important to see what happens. And right now we don't know. We know what's being said, at least generally, about the hostages. We're being told about phase 1 of the plan, about the Israelis pulling back. Reports that the president may actually speak in front of the Knesset, things of that sort, very celebratory. But I would be curious to know, what is the status of Hamas? I mean, what happens? And I'm sure that's been worked out. So I'm not sure that it's a problem in the short run. It's going to be a problem in the long run, no matter what. If they're not destroyed, that means they exist. And they're a terrorist organization like the Muslim Brotherhood. Look what we did in Afghanistan. And the enemy's still there. It's still there. And this is an ideology. This is a mindset. And it doesn't just disappear. So I'm going to be very curious to see how this is treated. Thank you for your call, my friend. I'm not trying to throw a wet blanket on anything. I'm not trying to celebrate anything. I just want to know more. And I think we all want to know more. That's the nature of my brain. That's the way it works. Let's go to Bill, Rochester, New York, the great WHAM. Quickly, Bill, go right ahead.
Honor and a pleasure to speak with you, your greatest. I tried to crystallize things. This is regarding Kathy Hochul. It's amazing how she would, on one hand, reportedly not endorse Mamdani.
I've got to go. I'm sorry. We needed to go quickly there. I apologize. I tried to squeeze you in. We salute all of our heroes. Thank you very, very much. The men and women in Ukraine, the men and women in Israel. We bless our president, the prime minister of Israel. God, please do. Let's hope they came up with some great deal. And God bless each and every one of you. You're fantastic. I'll see you tomorrow.